Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, still continuing my Amon Amarth discography, and tonight, since I'm filming this at like 8:50 at night, today we're going to be looking into Surtur Rising. This is the band's, I believe, 8th album released in 2011. Now, of course, I think this is another good album in the Amon Amarth discography. I mean, I know I've said this in all my reviews so far in this discography review, but I mean, it's just typical Amon Amarth. Like, production-wise, it pretty much has a little bit of that gritty, dirty sounding. Johan just sounds just brutal as ever. The guitar work is just superb, and the musicality is great, and the lyrics are typical, like, Viking Norse mythology. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, the album opens up with War of the Gods, which is just a classic Amon Amarth track with ferocious riffs and Johan Haig's alternation between sort of like his guttural lows and raspy high trails. They're like among the most enjoyable in the genre because of the range, articulation, and bite. And this entire album is just splattered with just like tempo change. Just that range from like breakneck to plodding, adding much needed sense of like variety and change to the atmosphere that would otherwise be cracked by a lack of modification on here. It's one thing I should also mention with this album. Then we go into, next song is to be Tuck's Treachery Part 2, which is actually a Part 1 from, which was on Without on Our Side. And the song itself is a very good track. It shows sort of like a slow side at times, but the mood is very welcoming, and it gives like a feel for what the rest of the album has to offer. And it has one such example where the beat is like a slower groove and undulating, heavy, and sort of like soft sections on there. Next on the album is called Destroyer of the Universe, which is a really heavy and just really well done. The solo has that pretty much shut up and do sort of like a windmill headbang feel to it, and the outro is kind of like vocals grind in the best possible way, with like the first 3 tracks exhibiting this much heavy and attitude atmosphere is difficult to kind of complain, honestly. Like, it's very relentlessly fast, unforgivingly heavy, and the chorus riff sort of like makes a return to like the Without on Our Side sound, firing the heavy low tremolo ambience straight into the listener's heart. And this probably has to be like the most epic song they have done since probably Cry the Blackbirds. Slaves to Fear, it's a pretty decent track with a very interesting meaning. Live Without Regrets definitely deserves a listen to, like sort of like the war cry takes on sort of like the popular saying to it. Next song on here is The Last Stand of Frege, or however you pronounce it, which sort of like arrives on here. It has a little bit of like synthesizer, so like leaving with the grace of Lost Heroes behind sort of like the hammering double bass. Perhaps, I feel like, in my opinion, is like the most climax of the album. For Victory and Death, which stands pretty much high and mighty above all. It has like the main infectious like main melody in there is good, which has a great car parts, sort of like the verses and like Frederick's like fill happy patterns on here. Wrath of the Norsemen, another great song. I love it. A Beast Am I, which is an absolutely crushing song. Like, most of the rest of the songs on here definitely have their moments and fall in with like typical Amon Amarth material. And then the album closes with Doom Over Dead Man, which is a pretty interesting song, which is actually a closing ballad that features like a sweet introduction, sort of like a nice string usage between the verses, and the growls somehow don't sound out of place in the middle of it all. It just feels like kind of like weird to sort of like close the album with sort of softly and just not go all guns blazing, which I will give that Amon Amarth some credit for. Now, overall, Surtur Rising by Amon Amarth, another good album in their discography. If I were to give this album a score, I'm probably going to give this a solid 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of Surtur Rising, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video, and keep it metal.